Welcome back to r/LegalAdvice, where people ask questions, get advice, and we get satisfaction. If you are new around here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. Washington State woman moves across country 11 years after last contact, alleges I am the father of her 10-year-old son. I was just served, so forgive me if I ramble or sound a little shocked. This came out of nowhere. Background: I met a girl on an online dating site and we hit it off fairly well. She coincidentally lived near my paternal ancestors' homestead, and I had previously planned to do an ancestry type visit to the area, so I volunteered to come visit/meet her and go on a date. She offered a place to stay for the days of my arrival and departure to save on a hotel, no strings attached, and also offered to join me on my exploration. I agreed, seemed legit. Long story short, it went okay. She was not fully truthful in our prior conversation about her health situation. Turned out she has herpes, but she came clean while we were talking the first evening after dinner. I am rather risk adverse, but that was not an outright disqualifier for a relationship. I understand how that might be hard to discuss until comfortable with the other person, and as long as the relationship has not turned physical before then, no harm, no foul. She was otherwise pleasant enough to hang with, so we had a fun few days exploring, talking and flirting, even though by the second day I had decided she was not someone I wanted to enter into a LTR with. And I assume that means something like a serious relationship? On the final day, as I was packing, she propositioned me to have a intimate interlude involving mutual self-pleasure. I had previously, the day before, told her I did not think we had a future beyond friendship, and she said she was okay with that. With this in mind, our previous discussion about her medical condition and the understanding that it would not include any actual physical contact, I agreed. She asked that I wear protection for easy cleanup, which seemed logical at the time being it was her bedspread, not mine. So we did our thing. I disposed of the used protection and went to the shower to get dressed for my trip. We said our goodbyes with the understanding that it was not meant to be, and I headed back to the airport. We lost touch soon after that, and a quick standard X-check of her Facebook page a couple years ago showed she was in a relationship which appeared stable, still living in the same town, and no mention of a child. Fast forward 11 years from my visit, she is now single, according to her Facebook page, recently has moved to a larger city just 60 miles north of the small town I live in, and just this morning had me served with papers saying I am the father of her son. I have since married last December and have already discussed this whole scenario with my wife. She is supportive and was the one who looked on her Facebook page to begin with. She is also the one who pointed out the coincidental oddness of the timing of our marriage, this woman's cross-country move, and the sudden service of papers with no prior notice of paternal responsibility on my part. I had not thought of that until she mentioned it, and it is rather troubling. On top of that, this woman has started a GoFundMe account to help start a new life. One other thing my wife mentioned about her Facebook page: the header includes a picture of a female doll holding a tactical style weapon. Again, nothing damning or terrifying, but still a bit upsetting when speculating about her current state of mind. My wife seems to think she is looking to get paid somehow and using her son to do it. I hope not for the child's sake. And yes, I know I need a lawyer as soon as possible, but is there anyone who has dealt with a similar situation? What was the outcome? What questions should I be asking in the meeting, and should I ask for anything specific, such as a protection order, for example? And a user in the comments said, you are either the dad or you are not. I would say you are not. Not much you can do until the DNA test. I don't think you need a lawyer before the test results come back. A lawyer won't change the outcome. Just don't say or promise anything else other than comply with giving a sample. In addition, nothing in your post suggests anything close to grounds for an order of protection or for no contact. And guys, what would you do if some literally random woman would contact you after 11 years and tell you that you have a 10-year-old son? Let us know in the comments. definitely a scary situation if you ask me. Update to the Washington State woman moves across country 11 years after last contact story. Okay, since we left off, I took legal advice and got a lawyer, did the paternity test ASAP, and holy crap, broadsided with a DNA match. That was about 9 months ago, and I've been hesitant to update until now. Long story short, we've been sending legal notices back and forth between my representation and hers, the state, for almost a full year. A few months ago, a court date was set and she did not show, so the state held it over for trial. That date was recently set. I'm not asking for custody or visitation, as I have no real connection to this child beyond the obvious, nor do I have a desire to be a parent. Best case scenario, if she does not show a second time, the case will be dismissed. Otherwise, I am expecting I will be on the hook for support of some kind. I know my state is rather progressive, but not so much when it comes to family law and father's rights. Obviously, I am hoping she flakes out again. Regardless of what happens, I hope this serves as a cautionary tale to others at the very least. I would say the often shared Reddit phrase, "Don't stick your in crazy," should be amended to "Don't even show your to crazy." But in this case, crazy was impossible to spot until it was too late. I will be back with an update after the trial. And guys, unfortunately, this is where the story ends. I tried to contact the OP, but honestly, this story was already 2 years old, so it was not possible to contact him. There was a discussion thread and people were saying that he will be very likely to pay child support indeed. However, that is obviously not confirmed by the OP, but I guess that is how it panned out. And by the way guys, if you have watched until here, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, X and I share an apartment in Texas and I recently found out he installed secret cameras with sound in the common areas. We had a pretty tough breakup and he has been slow to accept it. We are 9 months into a lease and I offered to just buy him out of it, but he wants to stay. He won't let me out of it, so I am staying too. He has 1 room and me and my son, 4, share the other room. We mostly avoid each other. He started working night shift and sleeping 3 nights a week at a friend's. I actually rarely see him, so it works out great. I have bought a house in a new development, which should be ready for move-in by June. I don't have family or friends in the area, so I don't really have somewhere else I can stay. If I just left, he would be the type to not pay the lease, and I have already asked the office if I could end it early, but they won't let me. Nor can I substitute a subleaser without my ex's permission, which he won't give. We have actually been broken up for a few months, and I thought we were all doing okay. My son goes to see my ex-husband's, his father, 1 night a week and every other weekend, so when he's gone I will have a few friends over and just generally enjoy the apartment alone since my ex is almost always gone. I recently found out that my ex has been filming all our common areas, garage, living room, porch, kitchen, dining room, game room. His excuse was that he was trying to keep tabs on his stuff, but almost everything in the house is mine, except which is in his room. The couch is mine, the TVs are mine, even down to the rugs and decor. It is all mine. I kept the receipts for the big tickets items for insurance. I think maybe the toaster is his, but I would not steal it. We all use it. Anyway, he has caught some generally private moments that consist of my nudity and even possibly some of my son's nudity, as he has been known to run through the house naked and just generally change in the living room when he and I are home alone. He admitted it in a text. He said he even caught me talking badly about him to a friend. I was frustrated at his inability to accept that it was done, and I was venting about continuing to have to share a space with him. I demanded he delete the videos and remove the cameras. He said he was refusing to, and if I took the cameras down that it would be destruction of his property and he would call the police. At first I thought he was lying, but he did send me a 10-second sound-only snippet of an intimate moment he caught me in. I don't want to destroy the cameras, I just want to remove them. I don't think he should be allowed to just unilaterally without permission film me in my own home where I have an expectation of privacy when he's not there. I don't trust him not to have put something in our bedroom, but I cannot find anything. Obviously, we all will be dressing in the bathrooms now and just generally avoiding the common areas until this is sorted out. Legally, what can I do? He has not threatened to release anything, but he came home the other day when we were home and looked really smug and asked about how our evening went, and when I said we didn't do much, he said, "But you got home so late." So he knew we were out until 7 when we usually get home around 5:30. He also knew my son's father stopped to pick up my son since I asked him to keep him for a while until I get this sorted out so he would no longer be taped. He is obviously using this as a way to control me and monitor our comings and goings. Can I not call someone at least about the possible taping of a 4-year-old? My son is staying with his father until I get this sorted out, but I feel like a prisoner. I could go to a motel or sleep on a couch for the night, but I don't have anywhere to go long term. Am I not allowed to live there and not worry about being filmed? And a user in the comments said, I would also look into the legal ramifications of revenge, PORN, both local and federal, and have your soon-to-be lawyer make him aware of all the consequences leaking those videos could have for him. If he had a 10-second snippet of your intimate moments ready to rock that fast, that means he has it edited, stored, maybe he has it set as his ringtone. Be ready to fight that battle. And another person said, in addition to the already excellent advice that you've been given, please do consider staying with a friend or even in an Airbnb or whatever, just to let the smoke clear. Even if it is only a couple of nights, what he's doing is really controlling, and let's be honest, not the actions of somebody who's in a great place mentally. Give yourself some space while the police do their job, and once you have an answer from them on what further action will take place, you can look at moving back. And another person confirmed, seriously this, I got creepy controlling vibes from the fact that he refused to let her out of the lease. This is a very uncomfortable and creepy situation. I think most friends would be willing to work with someone like this, since it is basically bordering on abusive, if not entirely so. She has a definite move out date and a damn good reason. She should definitely talk to some of her friends and see if anyone can spare the space while this is sorted out. And another person mentioned, the first issue you need to deal with is getting out of the lease. Everyone here can agree that you cannot continue to live there for any longer than is absolutely necessary. I would contact a property lawyer in Texas. There is likely a Texas law or case that would allow you to break the lease in an event such as this, and if not, a nice and mean letter from an attorney seems to soothe over landlords and co-tenants. Let that attorney guide your legal responses, such as calling the police and filing reports. While it is tempting to want to run to the police immediately, it may be more advantageous to keep that possibility hanging over his head. I don't know, I'm a law student, not an attorney, so my advice, contact an attorney now, let them assist you in getting out of this lease and pursuing appropriate legal action as quickly as possible. And guys, if you were in this creepy situation, what would you suggest OP to do? Let us know in the comments. An update and some clarification regarding X and I share an apartment in Texas, and I recently found out he installed secret cameras with sound in the common areas. I did speak to the police yesterday and an attorney. I was told not to give my whereabouts and such, so my ex would not have my information. I am safe though. I just wanted to say thank you for the advice. I did get some comments about being nude in common areas and pleasuring myself not in my room, so I did want to point out how ridiculous those comments were real quick because it was bothering me. You have to remember, this is mostly just a 2-bedroom apartment. My bed is still in the bedroom I used to share with my ex, along with my dresser. My son had his own room before all of this, so all the things in that room apart from the few items I moved in were his. There are toys and pictures, and it is a small kid bed. It seemed inappropriate to do anything intimate in his room, so when the house was completely empty, when I knew I was alone and assumed no one was watching, I would hang out in the game room and do my thing. After all, I was never told that there were cameras in the house and my ex was at work and no one was there. The game room is much more adult-ish, SpongeBob plushes are not staring at me. I don't have my own private space, I don't have my own room to pleasure myself, even the bathroom I use is down the hall and covered in bright blues and toy sharks and baby towels. The game room is a private place that is comfy and not a kid's room, and it has a door that locks and shuts, so why wouldn't I assume I had privacy there? Hell, everything in that game room is mine. The pool table, the couch, the big TV, the mini fridge with the beer in it, it is basically my room. The only stuff my ex owns is a toaster and a dresser and computer station in his our bedroom. There's nothing for me to steal in my own home with all the stuff I own. There's no reason why he should be filming anything but his room where all his stuff is. Even the lamps and bulbs are mine. He moved in with me. This was my space first. He just brought a few things and signed a new lease with me. Even if I did not have the game room, the living room is still my space. I was never told about the cameras. My ex was at work, no one is home. Why can I not enjoy myself there? On the couch I paid for in the place I pay rent on. It is my home. Have you never had intercourse in the common areas of your house? Maybe you have a roommate even, but they are gone for the long weekend or out of town for a month or so. You assume you have your privacy. As for the nudity, our stuff is all over the apartment, not just in one bedroom. I used the closet down the hall for my clothes because again, I don't have a bedroom or a personal space. I would, knowing no one was around or it was just my 4-year-old there, hop out of the shower and make my way to the closet knowing no one would see me because my ex was gone and I was never told there were cameras to grab a dress or a shirt. My 4-year-old wears a uniform to his preschool and hates it, so we are not even really through the door fully before he is popping off clothes to get into comfy pants so he can play. Maybe he needs to grab some underwear from the dryer right outside the kitchen. I mean, this is standard family living. Maybe it is strange for you, but it is common for us. Again, my ex was not there and we did not know there were cameras. We expected to be able to be comfortable and live in our own home without having to be worried about being filmed. And yes, he is on the lease or else this would not be an issue. My friends occasionally drive to come see me. I have some fairly close ones, but they live about an hour and a half away. It is pretty far for the daily preschool and work drive. I do have 2 friends in town, but they are not close. They do visit and we hang out, but I don't want to live with them even for a little bit. One, I cannot because she has a bunch of cats. Anyway, I am safe. I've got some help with this and hopefully this jerk face leaves us alone very soon. I gotta say guys, I probably missed the comments that essentially victim blamed the OP because obviously the OP is completely right in saying that you should do whatever you want in your own home and you should not expect to be filmed by cameras. And guys, this marks the end of the first part of the video. The second part is gonna be comprised of a set of older stories that some of you might have heard already if you are a loyal subscriber. However, if you are new to the channel, these stories will be new for you as well. My 26 female co-worker, 33 female, adopted a kid from the Ukraine a year ago. Now she's going around work asking us to adopt him and writing about giving him away on Facebook. What to do? So my coworker is kind of a weirdo. I will call her Mary for the sake of this post. Her and her husband are one of those people that have a ton of adopted kids, 8 so far, and are super religious. To each his own. Mary enjoys telling everyone at work her business, so when she decided to adopt a kid from the Ukraine, everyone heard about it. She went with an older kid because it was easier for her and her husband, she says. This was 2 years ago. Mary has asked me to babysit the boy a couple of times. I will call him Tony, which is by the way a very interesting Ukrainian name, and it has never been a problem because I like kids. I did not see any glaring problems despite Mary's constant dramatics about how awful the kid was, and he seemed to like being over. It is just me and my boyfriend here, and our place is small but clean and really well kept. Mary's house is disgusting, for lack of a better word. Mary would harp constantly about how much Tony liked it at our house, but I just chalked it up to the kid having a good time. Lately, Mary has been at work talking to anyone that will listen about how awful Tony is, how horrible he is to the other kids, and how she is going to get rid of him. She sent out a frickin' mass email to everyone in our department asking if someone wanted to take her kid from her. She calls it rehoming and that it's okay. I logged onto Facebook today and same story. She has pictures of Tony posted to her timeline advertising him for readoption and to contact her if interested. I have not replied to her email yet and I have not commented on her post, but I am this close to ripping into her for what she is doing. She has crossed the line from weird into full-blown psycho. Should I call CPS? The police? I don't know much about adoption, and a quick search for rehoming gets me mostly results about animals. Any advice? Guys, have you ever heard about the word rehoming? If you ask me, it simply sounds like the woman cannot handle this many adopted kids. And now she just wants to get rid of it like a dog. And by the way, you also shouldn't get rid of dogs or cats like that. Let me know your opinion about this story in the comments. And someone in the comments of the post said, you need to call CPS and the local police. Rehoming international adoptees is actually really common with a certain sort of abusive adoptive parents, and it has led to many children's death at the hands of people who should never have had them. It's a form of child trafficking and obscenely it's got a dubious legality in a lot of states. You need to jump on this now before the poor kid is shipped out of state. And the next one is an update to the adoption story from before. Let me start by saying a huge thank you to everyone in this subreddit that replied to my post. Now that the dust has settled a bit, I'm honestly kinda overwhelmed by the number of people that went to huge lengths to tell me about just how serious this situation was or is, deep dived on resources, etc. I got PMs from people that worked for local and state governments and private agencies that were outside of my state but offered their contacts. I had people that spoke Russian or Ukrainian offering to help contact the Ukrainian embassy and offered me contact information for embassy departments. People even contacted us offering money for Tony's immediate needs in the event we decided to take him in. I am sincerely touched by the genuine concern all of you had for Tony and his siblings, and I hope one day I can tell Tony that despite everything that has happened, there is people out there like you guys that care about him. The information you guys gave us helped us act fast and got the ball rolling on this situation faster than me and my boyfriend would have figured out alone. I talked with the cops about the situation and honestly, they were just as confused as I was. The person I talked to on the phone was just as stumped, but he agreed that at a minimum they did need to do a welfare check. I've had experiences with welfare checks before and I had the nagging feeling that something just would not go right. And someone PM'd me the priority line for my state's Child Protective Services hotline. I got someone on the phone right away, and as soon as I mentioned that trafficking could be going on and that she was advertising the kid on Facebook, it was a public post here too, they acted with a quickness. I gave them all the information I had on Mary and Tony and all the information I had from Mary about Tony's adoption. The person I spoke to right away said that she suspected that the adoption might not even be legal. I was floored. I emailed all the screenshots I had to the person I spoke with and asked for a follow-up if that was at all possible. I said that myself and my boyfriend were willing to take Tony on a temporary basis if necessary, but the CPS representative said that likely wasn't possible. Then the waiting game began. Last night was probably the most stressful night I've ever had. Hell, at one point I was ready to drive out to Mary's house myself, but was stopped by my boyfriend. It was tough. The cops followed up with us at approximately 2 AM. Note that I have not heard from CPS. The officer I spoke with was very cautious and limited in what he said, but he told me that CPS arrived at the home shortly after he did. In not so many words, he implied that Mary had been talking to someone about meeting Tony the very next day and that CPS suspicions were confirmed. Tony's adoption was not legal. Tony was rehomed to Mary and her husband from another state where placement needs to be approved by a judge. He did not elaborate further except to say that other issues came to light and all of the children were removed from the home for their own safety by CPS. He did not say how long they were there, but said it was a long time. I was asked to drop off all emails and printouts to the station in the morning, and I agreed. My boyfriend and I wanted to make doubly sure that all of our bases were checked, so I called our local FBI office, who said they lacked jurisdiction in the matter but would be writing up a complaint and referring the issue to the State Department. We called the Ukrainian embassy and made a detailed complaint, and I included the contact information I had for the officer from the department. The shit really hit the fan when I went into work to print out the email. Our company is pretty small, and the company owner, I will call her Big Angie because of her resemblance to the mob wife's lady, had gotten wind of Mary's email. Big Angie was furious and waiting at Mary's desk to see if she would show up for work. My friend reported that Big Angie waited from 7:15 until 9:30 AM and that Mary came to work with a sob story about how her kids were being unfairly taken away. Mary wanted time off from work to clear her name and devote herself to reclaiming her family from this misunderstanding. I was not there to witness this, but Big Angie, who has 6 kids herself, apparently ripped Mary a new a-hole. Mary has been dismissed, and rumor has it that Big Angie may or may not allow her to claim unemployment. My head is honestly still spinning from everything that has happened. The past 24 hours have been insanity. I'm so grateful that the system worked as quickly as it did. I only hope it works out a long-term solution to this problem and that Mary does not get to reclaim her kids. My heart is breaking for Tony and the other kids right now. I don't know what the F was happening in Mary's house that made CPS remove them that night, but I'm going to sleep better knowing that they aren't with psycho-ass Mary and her husband, at least for a while. What the future holds for Tony and the other kids, especially because Tony's adoption was apparently illegal, makes me sick, but I'm going to wish for the best. I need a damn drink. I gotta be honest guys, in this story I'm really hoping that the woman, aka Mary, was just extremely incompetent and not part of a human trafficking ring. By the way guys, I'm curious, have you ever heard in your state, in case you are from the US, about human trafficking in regards to adoption? I'm wondering how common it really is. If you know something, please let us know in the comments. And the next one is titled, "My girlfriend cheated on me but is now refusing to leave my apartment. I found out that she cheated on me yesterday. She was my first kiss and my first time and relationship, so it is crushing. I asked her to leave but she refused, and eventually I just locked myself in my study room and went to sleep. She lives with me and is dependent upon me. I just got home from work and she's still here. She is convinced that we can work it out. I want absolutely nothing to do with her. I don't want to put my hands on her in any way because I don't want to be accused of assault or anything like that. She only moved in 2 weeks ago from her parents' place. I don't know what to do. Can the police legally remove her?" And a user with a name that is impossible to pronounce in the comments said, "Does she have a lease? She just moved in with you 2 weeks ago? You can try calling the non-emergency line and asking if the police will remove her. But I think there's a good chance they won't, since she moved in with you and it will be a civil matter. You will have to follow the normal procedures in your state to evict someone. Absolutely under no circumstances should you remove her with force. If things become heated, leave and call the police right away." And guys, feel free to let us know in the comments if you have ever been in a relationship that ended with you having to kick out your partner out of the apartment. And now on to the update to the cheating girlfriend story. A number of people told me to give an update, so here it is. I gave her written notice last night like everyone suggested and then left her alone. I talked to her mother and told her what happened. She called me this morning and said she was coming over. She walked in and started packing her stuff pretty much straight away. The whole time my ex was literally just crying and stomping around like a child. I have never seen her look that defeated before. After everything that has happened, I thought it would be satisfying to see her like that, but it was actually really sad. After grabbing some of her stuff, her mom dragged her out the door and that was it. 10 minutes in and out. Fairly anticlimactic, really. I assume that she will come by another time to get the rest of her stuff. I have always really liked her mom. She is a no-nonsense type of woman. Her mom apologized on her behalf, but I still have not received any sort of heartfelt apology from her, unfortunately. I am glad that she's gone, but pretty sad that I'm going to have to spend Christmas alone. I think the eviction notice was the main reason her mother came over, so thanks r/LegalAdvice. And the next one is titled, Bartender took my real ID and passport and won't give them back. I am a NC resident attending a MI 4-year college. I just turned 21 about a month ago and I went to a dive bar/music venue to drink and watch a show. I look incredibly young in person, but my ID is up to date and so is my passport as well. The bartender confiscated my ID last night because it looked fake because it is out of state and your hair does not match. My hair is currently dark purple, but in my license picture it is black. It looks almost exactly the same in a dimly lit bar anyway. So I tell the bartender I have a passport and he's confiscating my real ID and he says he will believe me when I bring my passport. I retrieve my passport, which clearly shows my age, and this time I ask to speak to the manager. The manager refuses to give my ID back, saying he's going to call the police to confiscate it. And then he takes my passport. No, I'm not kidding, I wish I was. He went on a rant about how I tried so hard to act of age and had all this fake proof and a fake life. By this point the venue is almost empty and the bouncers kick us out. I now have 0 forms of identification on me. What can I do here? I'm supposed to drive back home in 10 days for a wedding and I'm worried that he did call the police, they told him it was real and he threw them away or something. Please help. And a user in the comments said, did you call the police? Because when someone refuses to return your property, you call the police. And they would have solved the matter in all of 2 minutes. Go to the bar when the place opens and ask for it back. If they refuse, call the police and wait for them to show up. Plenty of underage kids claim to have real IDs. All of them threaten to call the police on the bar, none of them get the officers there. I would have stayed in the venue until an officer showed up. Next best thing is to tell/ask the day shift manager for it back. And guys, I'm curious, have you ever been in a similar situation? Or a situation where someone thought you are younger and thus prevented you from doing something? Let us know in the comments. And now on to the update to the bartender story. It turns out I actually ended up calling the wrong police jurisdiction. This morning I called the East Lansing PD non-emergency line, whom I called the previous night, and I spoke to an officer who told me that they only have jurisdiction on campus and 3 blocks surrounding campus. The venue/bar I was attending is actually on the city line between East Lansing and Lansing, and so the police officer directed me to the Lansing Police Department. The LPD officer told me that bar always calls about fake IDs and in his words, 90% of the time they are wrong. So he told me not to worry and he would get my identification back for me. Long story short, I got my stuff back and I got to rub it in the bartender and manager's face that I was right all along. And the last one is titled, I am supposed to have money put aside for me for university from both of my deceased parents. My stepmom says there is no money left and what was left by my dad was used to send my step-siblings to university and pay for the family's expenses. Can someone help me please? My mom passed away when I was 2 and we lived in Vancouver at the time. My dad remarried when I was 8 and I ended up becoming the youngest kid in the family. My stepmom has always been mentally unstable and hates me in general. My dad passed away 6 years ago from cancer. Before my dad passed away, he told me that there was a trust set up for me with a fair amount of money to pay for my university from his first wife. He also told me that his will was set up to ensure that I would not need to worry about anything for university or need to worry about money. He told me over and over that I would be taken care of no matter what. Earlier this month, my stepmom made a comment vaguely asking how I expected to pay for college/university on minimum wage. I told her what my dad told me and she said that everything my dad had left was spent to take care of the family and to send my older step-siblings to university. She said it was first come first serve. She also has absolutely refused to help me in any way as it is a waste of her time. I have ripped apart the house trying to find any sort of paperwork from my mom/dad's estate, but I cannot find anything. I have tried to talk to lawyers who specializes in estates and wills. The first one told me he could not do a consult with a minor unless my guardian is present. No chance. The other one basically wanted a lot of money to even do anything, which I don't have. I have also tried to reach out to my estranged part of my mom's family. Her sister was able to dig up something with the name of the company who took care of her estate, but that company no longer seems to exist. My dad, on the other hand, was an only child, and as long as I remember, I don't remember anyone else from his family, nor can I find anything. I don't really know where to look or what to do at this point anymore. I am terrified that my stepmother used this money to pay for all the frivolous BS she has wasted money on and pay for my step-siblings' tuition. I am also terrified that if there is really no money, then I am basically going to get screwed hard. I need to get away from my stepmother no matter what. And Spiny in the comments said, contact the Law Society of Ontario and get a referral. They will set you up with an hour of an attorney's time to talk about the initial details and whether this is worth pursuing. All the documents related to the trust and to your father's estate can be discovered given time and effort, but anything you already have will help your lawyer. However, the bad news is that situations like this are depressingly common and almost always end one way, with the beneficiary, that's you, holding a judgment against the trustee, that's, I'm guessing, your stepmother, that will never be paid because the trustee has spent all the assets and has no way to pay it back. If you are a minor, then you will generally need to wait until you turn 18 to bring suit, although there are situations, and this may be one, where a minor can be represented in court on their own against their guardian. Given the likelihood that there is nothing to recover and given the delay, I would make plans for your education that don't rely on a windfall from your father. OSAP is, if nothing else, reliable, and you can always supplement it with a working income. I am just absolutely baffled by the comment of the stepmother saying first come first serve, as if this is an effing buffet. To be frank guys, I'm absolutely speechless. How would you guys have reacted if you were in OP's shoes? Let us know in the comments. And now we will read the update to the story from before. I just wanted to say thank you to all the advice and help I received, especially from Spiny. I was able to get in touch with an awesome lawyer who specializes in wills and trusts, who after explaining my whole situation to him, he was willing to do the discovery for free. He was able to find that I not only have one trust, but two trusts for me. One of the trusts was set up a long time ago, most likely by my mother, and is still intact and safe, which was more than enough for me. Unfortunately, the second trust was most likely improperly set up or handled, as it seems to have been emptied about 2 years ago. He gave me a bunch more useful advice and gave me detailed instructions on how to use the trust properly, along with a bunch of recommendations to ensure the money is not touched by my stepmother or siblings. I also managed to talk to my step-siblings and basically learned that they both considered themselves estranged from my stepmother. My older stepbrother pays for her utilities and rent, but that is it. They are not on speaking terms in any way and recommended me to get out right away. Apparently my stepsister also was supposed to have a bunch of money for her education, only for it to mysteriously just dry up after her first year of university. With her mom telling her she spent all her 4 years of tuition in 1 year, so now she is paying her way. Anyways, I have decided to basically keep my head down for the last year of high school and get out as soon as university starts. And never look back. Thank you so much for your help. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our amazing community. Furthermore, don't forget to go to r/ripe stories on Reddit to post your own stories if you want me to read them out in a video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I see you again tomorrow.